Good morning. This is Dennis Miracle, and today I'm going to be preparing a very simple design called Horizon, and it uses a beautiful rope stitch, which I have not been using in quite a while because one specific digitizing program that I rarely use makes this rope style, and I had actually forgotten how to use it, so I've refreshed myself, and I'm going to be making some items with it. So, and for those who might be interested, it's the Embird, EMBIRD digitizing program. I've had that several years, but don't use it much, even though it's an excellent program. But I find some others that I tend to use. Anyhow, let's go and see what we need. We need two pieces of lining fabric cut 7 by 11 and two pieces of batting, and I'm going to start changing what I've done in the past. One cut 7 by 11 and then one just a little bit not quite as the height of it is not as quite as high, cut 6 by 11. And then you need a zipper, which it's 10 inches across. The design is roughly 10 inches across, so you need something probably 12 to 14 inch zipper, which I think this is a 14 inch. Now we need three pieces for the exterior. I'm going to put this, I don't know what this is, I got it at Joann's, vinyl type fabric, or like I say, I'm not sure. It doesn't seem to be vinyl, but yet I don't know what it is. Anyhow, that's going to be on the back. And then on the front, we're going to have these two pieces here, and because they complement each other, the pretty pinks here with this. And so you need two pieces for the two complementary pieces of fabric for the front. And all of these are cut 7 by 11. The only thing that isn't cut 7 by 11 is this piece, one piece of batting is cut 6 by 11. And if you just want, I used to just cut them all 7 by 11 for simplicity's sake. But I've just started to say, well, I'll just knock an inch off that when I cut it. Because this smaller piece goes under the zipper like that at a certain point, so it doesn't need to be quite as big. Anyhow, that's what you need. And I've got my 6 by 10 baby lock hoop or brother hoop, and I'm going to put my regular stabilizer in it, and then when I get back from the doctor, I'm going to start making this design. And I'm trying to get to simpler designs because people are saying they don't like designs with so many stitches, and I get it. I understand that too, and I don't have a back prepared for this, so it'll just be a plain back. But I'm going to make, I think, a few of these with, this has the rope border. I'm going to make a few in this same style, horizon style, but with different covering stitches for the applique, to give people some variety, to have something to make quick and easy. So anyhow, I'm running my mouth as usual. So after I get back from the doctor, I'll see you then. All right, good afternoon. This is the next day, and didn't get back to it yesterday for various reasons. But anyhow, I've got it loaded, as you can see on this. This is a Baby Lock Spirit, and I'm going to stick. I've uh, got my stabilizer loaded into the 6 by 10 brother hoop. So I'm going to stick that in, and I've got some silver, but I'm not going to use silver. I'm just going to use it to run the step one, which is the outline of the bag. So Let me do that and I'll be right back. Oops. Alrighty, I have run step one, and like I say, unfortunately it was silver and it doesn't show up well, but it has outlined the bag, and this is you'll see 4 lines here starting from the top. This is where your number 3 zipper needs to be located. Those 2 center lines are where the actual stitching will take place to stitch the zipper down, and you need to have the head of your zipper over here, and the tail of course over here, and I always put tape on both ends and little pieces of tape like that here in the center. So let me tape down my zipper and we'll get started. Right, as I was showing, these 4 lines here are just about exactly an inch from this line down to this line, and the zippers, number 3 zippers, are an inch, so they should fit just about perfectly. So I'm lining it up and I'm going to tape it down now. Okay, you can see I have the head is here where the zipper pull is, and the first piece of tape, and then a little piece of tape here, a little piece of tape there, and then another big piece on this side. So I'm going to put it in the machine and have this sewn down, and I have changed to a pretty dark blue for the thread I'm going to use for the rest of the project, I think. So let me do that and I'll be right back. All right, as you can see, the 2 lines of stitching, the zipper has been sewn down, and you can also see here that when the top line of stitches got to that point, it stopped and cut the thread, and then came back over to this side and started down on the thread that's on the bottom of the coils, and then cut the thread there, instead of going over like the recent, just going over this, just right over the zipper. And I wish if you would take a moment in the group and just tell me whether you prefer to have it cut the thread each time, or whether you like it to jump over and sew through the zipper. And this is a different, I've got a bunch of templates. This is a different template. I haven't used this one in a while. It's the one with rounded corners and at the top. So anyhow, if you could do that, I'd much appreciate it, so I can get a feeling of what people feel comfortable with. So let me then, I'm going to turn the hoop over, and I'm going to be putting the lining, first piece of lining, right the edge of it, the lining face down, and the edge of it against this bottom line here. So let me do that. Okay, I have taped face down, a nice piece of tape here, a piece of tape in the center, and a good piece of tape going across here. And I'm going to pick it up by the attaching piece and just let it roll over like you saw. Turn it over to the front, and I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to just fold it and tape it to this area right here of the hoop, so it stays out of the way, because we don't want it in the way getting sewn for probably 5 or 6 different steps. So let me do that and I'll be right back. All right, you can see I have taped that. Hopefully it'll stay taped. And I'm going to take, actually this is going to be the first piece of fabric / vinyl to go down. So you place it face down right against the edge to edge with the zipper. Make sure it's okay on both sides, that you've covered both sides. And when I put the camera down, I will tape this down, and then I'll run the step 3, which will just sew a line of stitches right along through here, which will sew this front down and sew the lining down on the back. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. And again, let me show you, I've taped this here in the middle and over here, so in it goes, and I'll show you what it looks like in a moment. All right, you can see that it has stitch down here on the front, and always turn over to make sure that everything, yes, it has sewn that down also. And as I said, this what I'm using is I've got a front sheet, a back sheet, a top sheet, and a bottom sheet, and pillowcases of this stuff here that I'm using. I think I bought it at Stein Mart some years ago, and it is as thin as it's like microfiber somehow, or I don't know. I didn't like it as a sheet, so I said, well, I'll use it as a lining. I think it's durable for a lining, but it just didn't give much, the sheet didn't give much warmth to it at all. So anyhow, that's that step. Now, let's take the shorter piece of the batting, which I think I said was 6 by 11, and make sure it's covered on both sides. Yes, yes, and pull your whatever this is. I'm pulling this down. Pull your fabric down. I'm going to tape this over here on this side and over on this side, because this is a little difficult to, since it's vinyl apparently. So I'm going to do that and run the next step, which will sew all along through here, down here, across here, and back up here. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. All right, you can see that this vinyl has been tacked down, and now the next thing, as you can see there, it's going to run a placement stitch, so we know where to, well, we're going to cover, we're just going to cover, this is what I'm going to cover it with, these beautiful butterflies, and but anyhow, it's going to run a placement stitch, so let me do that. All right, you see the placement stitch has been sewn, and so I'm just going to take and you could really omit that step, because basically you're just going to place your piece of 7 by 11 fabric over over this. But anyhow, let me then run the next step, and I'll be right back. All right, you can see that the piece of fabric has been sewn down, and I'm going to take it now and start on the side and just cut on this side of this stitches here up above, cut this piece off, because the next step will be the satin stitching, or whatever. Oh, it's the border, the rope border, which is very beautiful. So I'm going to go and do that, cut it very close to the stitches. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. All right, you can see that I trimmed it, and I ended up having to go over it again and getting even closer. I just can't seem to get it right the first time. It doesn't matter how many of these I make. It just requires me to go over it again. Anyhow, I'm going to stick it in, and the beautiful rope border will be put across here. And I think this fabric is so beautiful. And the pretty colors here go with this vinyl up here. This color, the color in here is very similar to this, at least some parts of this. So let me do that, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, this took about 7 minutes to do this rope, and you can see the rope itself is very beautiful, but there's a lot of trimming I need to do. It pulled out these little threads all along here. In fact, I started out over here, I used white pre-wound bobbins, and I said, oh, it's probably could be because the bobbin is showing through, so let me change it to, I had some black ones, even though this is blue. I put black in the bobbin, and it still doesn't look pleasing, but I'm gonna do some trimming on these with my fine little pair of scissors after this is over. So, and there's little pieces when I trimmed, there's a bunch of little pieces here. Anyhow, the next step to do is to finally take this piece off and let it roll over to the back. And take it and, I get rid of these pieces of tape here and then fold this down like this and tape it on the corners, and then also you need to take something and you need to go in here and it's hard to look through the camera and see. You need to get rid of this piece right here. You see the top line here and the second line where the stitching occurred. This area here is where the coils of the zipper are, so you need to just get rid of this strip that goes right down through here over to here. So I'm going to do those two things, get rid of that, so the zipper's back, you can see the zipper back, and I'm going to tape it down, and I'll be back. You can see I've cleared the path for the zipper, and I've taped this down with the two pieces of tape that I took off from here, which is a recipe for disaster. And I know better, but it was just easier to do that. So let me attempt to fade again, because a lot of times if it's been used, it'll come off and this will get folded back over. But I never learn from my mistakes. So let me put this in the machine and sew down this piece here. Right, now you can see it has sewn this exact right over where it did earlier in the project, and has sewn this down, and somehow it stayed in place and sewed down the back. So that's great. All right, the next thing we do is take off this tape up here. See if I can do it with one hand. Well, let me see where this is. What's the problem here? Okay. All right. And take this and open up the zipper about 3/4 of the way. Oh, it's opening for me without a problem. Okay, that's far enough. And now, what am I doing? Okay, you need to place your, whatever they use for your backing. Oh, hope I don't fall. Okay, which I'm going to use this stuff as the backing also. So put it, where'd that go? Oh, that's part of it. Let me cut that off. Okay. Oh, can you believe I'm having so much trouble? Oh, come on. All right, well, that's good enough. Okay. Place this over what's already there, but make sure with this, and also the, we're going to put the other piece of batting here too, make sure that you are at least 1/4 inch above the edge of the zipper. So make sure this piece we're putting on comes up to about right here. So let's see. Yeah, it looks fine. And then put on your other piece of batting, and oh, that kind of landed on there just almost perfectly. Okay, I don't know that I put batting in this. It's as I always do, but with vinyl, I don't know that you necessarily need to put batting, but I did it, and it'll make it more substantial. It'll also make it harder to turn out, but I think it'll be okay. This is really soft, whatever this is made of. It's very soft. So, all right, let's stick this back in the machine, and it's going to go around the entire exterior, the perimeter of the design, and sew everything down. And then we've only got one more step, I think, after that. So, yeah, everything looks good. Alrighty, and the zipper's open. Make sure your zipper is open. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. All right, you can see now that that has been sewn down, and our very last step is to turn the hoop over and put right side down the second piece of lining. And so I'm putting this right side down and making sure also that it covers this area up above the zipper about 1/4 of an inch, so it will get caught in the last round of stitches. And yes, it looks like it's fine. Okay, now tape this down on all 4 corners and stick this in the machine and run the last step, and this will leave this an opening right here to turn the bag through. So let's do that and I'll be right back. All right, you can see I've taped here, I've taped here, I've taped up here, and I've taped over here. So in the machine it goes. Okay. All right, it's going to go around one more time, but leave an opening at the bottom there so we can turn the bag. So let me run that. All righty, let's, it has gone around again. Let's look at the back where you can actually see. And everything stayed in place, and you can see it started right here and ended over here, tied off over here, and you can see this area here. All right, we're done with the embroidery machine. Now, take this out of the hoop. Take your design out of the hoop. Okay. Okay, let me see my. Okay, all right. So that part's finished. Now turn it over to the back side, or at least this is how I cut. I cut right up to this point, right about 1/4 of an inch away, and then 1/4 inch around away from the stitch line, all the way across here, and I stop right here and cut off, and that'll take all of this mess off. So let's do that, and I'll be right back. All right, you can see I have trimmed all around the sides, leaving about 1/4 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch, or 1/8 of an inch in some places. But you look into the back side here. What you want to do now is take and pull these 2 pieces of lining. You always have one that's a little shorter, or at least with my bags you do. I don't know about other people's, and a longer one. So just kind of fold it back, and you're going to take your scissors and all this stuff here, just cut right above the fabric here, barely above it, and remove all this stuff here. You don't need it. It's just junk at this point. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, I have removed all that excess batting and fabric, etc. And so now we just have the 2 flaps of the lining. So we're going to turn our bag out through this area here, and I can't do that with the camera on. So let me put the camera down, and I'll be right back. Right, at this point you should be seeing the lining on both sides of the bag. Now take this piece that's shorter of the lining, fold it over and fold it in, and if you've got an iron, I would iron it down. Be careful if you got vinyl like I do. I would put a pressing cloth over this so as not to ruin the vinyl, and then take the longer piece and fold it in also, and iron it down the best you can, and then take this to your sewing machine and sew from right here very close to the edge to right here. And I'm going to do those steps, and I'll be right back. Okay, oh come on. I took and actually just finger pressed these 2 pieces because I just didn't want to risk with the iron with the vinyl. So you can see where a line of stitches sewn right across here. So we're almost done. We're ready to turn our bag out through the main zip, or well, the only zipper. So, as again, I'm going to have to put the phone down because I can't do this one-handed. So, I'll be back in a moment. Okay, as you can see, the bag is done. I think it's very attractive. It's very simple. Some people have told me I put too many fancy fills in that create a lot of stitches, and they don't like. I don't know. They don't like, I guess, using their thread or something. I'm not sure what the issues are, but I can understand that. So I'm going to do some other bags, simple bags like this, but bags that are attractive. And anyhow, one thing I would do is, or one thing I do, and I'm definitely going to do it in this case, even though it's final, I'm going to take my iron, I'm going to open the bag all the way up, take my iron, and I'm going to press this way inwards to give this a nice press away from the zipper. I've never noticed it getting any of mine getting caught in the zipper, but I personally think it's a good idea. Let's take it or leave it for what it's worth, which is nothing. So anyhow, this is I'm going to call this New Horizons bag, I believe. And I hope you've enjoyed watching me make this, and I want to thank all of you who continue to support me and encourage me. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. And I'll be posting this in the next day or so on the group. So if you're interested, you could send me an email. If you know you're going to want it, you could send me an email at the Dennis, MIRAC designs at gmail.com. It'll be listed in the listing when I get it listed. And of course, this is a 6x10 bag. That's the only size it comes in. But anyhow, thank you so much. Have a good week. Bye.